Welcome, welcome, welcome to another Spiritual Awakening with yours truly, Dr. A.G. Green Sr. Thank you so much for being with us now, whether it's morning, evening, or late night, whatever time of day it is. Thank you for stopping in and connecting with us on this platform. We're so excited and delighted to see all who are pouring into this stream, and I would encourage you to tag and share and even text and let people know that we are on the air, that there is something special in store for them. Let's pray. Almighty, I'm just so thankful and grateful for these precious but fleeting moments. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your instruction. And more importantly, thank you for love, and abundance, joy, and peace. We bless you in this moment for all of the great dynamic things that are taking place now. Thank you for miracles, signs, and wonders. Thank you for the permutation, alteration, and transformation of every heart who connects and tunes in, even if it's just whether 1 second that is, or 100 minutes. Your will is done in them, with them, and through them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. By Yeshua's name, by consciousness, it is so, and so it is. Thank you for joining us. Let us know when you've shared tonight. Let us know when you've shared tonight. And of course, you know to follow me on the various social media platforms that you see listed at the bottom of the screen. That is at AG Green Now, whether it be Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you so much for subscribing, for liking, and for commenting on whatever it is you see on that page. And I'm so honored and privileged to be with you. Hey to you as well, Hillary, a resident therapist, Pastor Cotton is on. And thank you for letting us know that you tagged and you shared. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, let me know if you can see and hear me well. Let me know if you can see and hear me well, real quickly. And while we're in the midst of that, I always like to remind you that you are a powerful, dynamic, unlimited spirit being who's the offspring of an unlimited, vast, endless creator. And therefore, you are powerful. Own the power and work it within you. I want you to type in the comment section and I want you to speak out loud. I am powerful. Come on, type in the comment section. I am powerful. Come on, type in the comment section. I am powerful. That's it. Type it in the comment section. I am powerful. What a wonderful thing it is to know that you know that you know that you are blessed and that you are empowered. I am powerful. Your power exceeds any opposition that presents itself. Your power surpasses anything that you dare define as an enemy. Your power is transcendent. It is divine. It is from the creator, the source, and the sustainer. And there's nothing wrong with walking in the power and owning the power that you possess. It is God given, God permitted, divinely delegated to you and to me. That's right. Speak it out loud. I am powerful. Think of a circumstance, a situation that may have tried to make you feel weak and insignificant, and speak to it and say, I am powerful. So grateful for all of you all who are tuning in right now in this moment. Tell me real quickly what's good. Tell me about your week. What's good? I want to hear about your week. Talk to me real quickly, and then we're going to get into some teaching on tonight. What's good, family? What's good? What's good? What's good? By the grace of the Almighty, I am here, and I'm grateful to be here. Tell me what's good. Talk back to me. How's your week? Remember, this is a subjective opinion. It's your own opinion of your own life, and nobody would dare judge you here in this moment. So real quickly, tell me what's good and how's your week going thus far? What's good and how is your week going thus far? I look forward to seeing your comments come up in the comment section. Real quickly, let's see. Our resident therapist says, I am well and peaceful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Hillary says, this week has been long, but remaining grateful and positive. Absolutely. That's what we have to do. We have to remain grateful, and we have to do our best to remain positive as much as we possibly can. Thank all of you all so much for tuning in today. And I want to kind of touch on something real quickly here before I get into the teaching in this particular session. I want you to type these words in the comment section. Type these words in the comment section. I must always check on people I love. Type that in the comment section. I must always check on people I love. I want you to type that in the comment section. I must always check on people I love. Type that in the comment section. I must always check on people I love. Now, my reason for having you type this in the comment section is because as I am streaming this live. This is Men's Mental Health Month. And of course, within African American communities or African descent communities, they are highlighting men of African descent, but it is Men's Mental Health Month, period. And um, I've actually put together a whole teaching, but I'm not going to do it tonight. I'll do it at a later time, and maybe our resident therapist would join me for that particular presentation. But I wanted to say to you, and I did check. Apparently, they don't have one designated specifically for women. Uh, so I say check on everybody, male or female. It's just so happened this is the month designed to focus on men. Men are more likely, 12 times more likely, I believe the statistic said that I looked at. Let me pull it up real quickly. Uh, 12 times more likely to commit suicide. Um, they make up in 2022, male suicides was made up, all suicidal deaths, 79% were men. There's also another telling statistic. Among individuals with depression, 87.9% reported experiencing some difficulty with work, home, or social activities due to their symptoms. Notably, only 33.2% of males with depression reported receiving counseling in the past 12 months compared to 43% of females. I can go on and on and on. And as I said, there'll be a whole wonderful teaching on that. More specifically, within the African American community, there are at least five, six, seven contributing factors that make the lives of men of African descent a lot more stressful. I said all that to say that since there's an awareness that's being generated within our country, and there's a focus this month on men with mental health, heed this message, heed this announcement today to check on somebody that you love. And again, check on males and females. This just happens to be the month where they're focusing on men. And I'm going to say this, I was in the process of show you how uh, prophetic, how confirming this is. A couple of hours ago, I was sitting here at the desk, and as everyone, I was having some dark thoughts. And for me, the challenge is that I am not, how can I put this, in love with this iteration of existence. I know that there is something beyond the three-dimensional physical world. And from my perspective, life is much better outside of this physical body than in the body. I'm going to get into my teaching in a minute. I'm going to be picking up where I left off with the blog articles. And so I was saying to myself, as I start seeing these things come up on social media about Black Mental Health Month and so forth and so on, in the midst of all that, struggling with some darkness myself over the last several few weeks, actually, and resisting it, combating it, using the methods and strategies that I talked to you all about. I started a liquid fast today. I was led by the Spirit, been contemplating it for some time as a way of bringing an alignment, bringing myself in realignment, spirit, soul, and body. It will continue for, I don't know how many days, at least 3 days. And I was doing something I typically don't do. And I found myself mesmerized in the moment by some thoughts. And I was saying to myself, and I have people who check on me, and it's a blessing. Not a lot of people, but a few people. And I was saying to myself, I need to emphasize the importance of just checking on people, especially people you consider to be strong and you think have it all together. And I'm having these thoughts while it feels like something is sitting inside my skull. Have you ever felt a heaviness that for me, when that happens to me, I start thinking it's not just a something generated from negative depressive thoughts. For me, it typically is some kind of chemical imbalance that's going on in the moment. I've noticed that about myself because the self-regulation appears to be more challenging the way you typically regulate. Where I typically regulate seems to be more of an uphill battle than usual. And that's when I start realizing, okay, this is probably something chemical that's going on with me at the moment. I'm sitting in that moment, family, literally in that moment. And I'm thinking to myself the relevance and the importance of checking on people and how I'm going to uh, encourage my supporters here to take time in this month to check on people. And I'm sitting in what felt like a cloud of darkness, a cloud of heaviness, because I've got multiple things that I'm facing, and multiple things I am persistently operating in from a divine standpoint. And it appears that there is resistance. And I've got all these thoughts. And then these dark thoughts are trying to make suggestions to me. And I'm saying to myself, um, this is the month for mental health, men's mental health. I need to encourage people to check on people, especially the strong folks. And I get a text message while I'm in the middle of thinking about this. This is how you know this stuff is God. This is how you know this stuff is divine. And in that moment, in that moment, again, I have people who check on me, but in that moment, nobody's checking on me. And I'm pretty dark. My thoughts are pretty dark and depressive. And I don't normally sit in that. I don't believe in that kind of stuff anymore. And a text message comes through and it says, what up, brother? You matter to me. See you later tonight. And then he puts in a text message, a, a song from Hezekiah Walker that says, I need you to survive. That was a divine moment. It was a stamp for me to be reminded that I'm needed, even when you are having thoughts that you are not for this existence, that you're still needed in this iteration, this version. But it also confirmed to me that I needed to share with you, family, to check on people. He didn't understand, he didn't know, he knew he was led to do what he did, but he didn't know in that moment I was incredibly heavy and dark, in a dark place I shouldn't even been in. But it happens. And just as I'm having this inkling to encourage people to check on other people while I'm in the midst of this, he sends a text message that immediately said to me, God is paying attention. Do you hear what I'm saying? The tear welled up in my eye. And I knew that God was paying attention. So I'm saying to you, if somebody comes up in your heart, as we say within your spirit, check on them. You don't know what a message like the one I just received will do for you. A phone call, a text message, Sometimes you might should even send something, money, a gift, or whatever. You don't know sometimes. The strongest people many times have the deepest struggles, sometimes the darkest struggles. And I'm going to say on this, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to move on to the teaching tonight. Um, Strong people are great camouflagers. They're great at camouflage. Don't get me wrong, people close to them can sense there may be something wrong, but sometimes they're good at hiding the depth of what they're considering to do as a remedy for their situation. And they struggle in silence. And they are expected to carry everybody's load. They're expected to help people resolve their issues. They're expected to keep going regardless of what's happening. And sometimes people will overlook the fact, as he said, there are suffering in silence, but that silence can become so deafening until in a moment they're gone. And people are wondering why. They don't understand why. It's accumulative, it's built up over time. You don't know that they've been combating this on and off for years, and they have great purpose and great design, and they're doing great and wonderful things. And all of a sudden, they're gone. And some people are bewildered, but it's because people overlooked the signs. Strong people, leadership, leaders, talented, gifted, highly sometimes energetic people, highly inspirational people are the ones who many times are overlooked because they are perceived as being the ones who have it all together. Those are some of the people who are the hardest on themselves. They're seen as and viewed as successful, but they don't see themselves as successful. They're seen and viewed as great. They don't see themselves as great. They see themselves as underachievers. They see themselves as failures. They see themselves as way behind where they should be in life. And they're struggling in their mind to keep their heads above water and at the same time dealing with the resistance that they are creating, putting in their own lives because of their own self doubt or because of uh, mitigating factors like their own pain that's unresolved, that has not been dealt with. Right. And you don't know it because they continue to function. Some of the greatest messages and teachings in my past life I have ever done have been in the darkest days of my life. Didn't even want to be alive that day. And you get up and God works and operates and performs through you. So I'm saying to you in this month for Men's Mental Health Month, don't just check up on the men. Remember, I said that check up on whoever. But if there's a strong man in your life or a man in your life that you love and cherish, or a person that you love and cherish, period, make sure that you be more intentional in this month about checking on them. So I want to thank my brother who reached out to me. I knew it was God and divine because in that moment I shared with you all those things that I was considering doing to check on other people in the midst of my own challenges. And bam, just like that. So before I get into the teaching, who's going to check on some folk? I'm going to check on some folk this month. I know some of y'all are doing it anyway, but who's going to make an extra effort? I'm going to make an extra effort to check on people. I'm going to make an extra effort to check on some brothers, some men, just to check on them. I mean, out of sight does not mean out of mind. And again, sometimes from our perspective, we think, oh, folks doing good. This is that person. They got this job, this income, this family, that platform. You don't know. I've talked to a lot of brothers and sisters who were on the edge of death, giving up everything. And sometimes God would put them on my mind, or there would be a divine encounter and conversation would strike up, and then there it is. It would come out in the conversation. So we must check on folks, check on people, continue to do that, continue to show love, continue to let the love of God uh, shine forth in you and through you. I just felt led to say that. Like I said, it's amazing how I was thinking in that frame of mind when that happened. All right. Uh, I didn't put up a blog article today on purpose because they're so thick and rich. I probably will tomorrow. If I don't do it tomorrow, I'll put up. I think it's number 4 in the blog series. It's generating more traffic than usual to the Patreon site, and I'm glad about that. And if you have not shared the first of the 3 blog entries with anybody, uh, please, please, please make sure that you do that. Now, y'all know, I'm transparent and as honest as I can possibly be. One thing I didn't do when I pastored full time from a physical pulpit was try and make think people think I was perfect and didn't have challenges and issues. I never did that. From day one, standing in that stead and in that role, I've been transparent. And so I think that honesty is connected to integrity, and it's really the only way to be able to bless and empower people. All right, let's get into this teaching. I don't even, I said this the other program, I don't even remember what it's called now. But block uh, number 3, the series in the block, article number 3, I should say, was entitled Mind Games, Psychological Filters in the Personal Reality Tunnel. And I started talking about this on last week uh, on either Sunday or Wednesday night. And we started from discussing reality tunnels created by Robert Anton Wilson in the 1970s. I want somebody to put up Proverbs 23:7 for me real quickly. Proverbs 23:7 for me. My assistants to put that up for me. Proverbs 23:7. We've used this text many times, and I want to kind of tie it into what I'm discussing with you tonight um, to help us to understand the weight and the gravity of situations and circumstances as it relates to thought. And again, people might wonder, well, why does he teach about this stuff all the time? I want people to know and understand that nothing you read in anybody's Bible or scripture will work for you effectively and consistently without you having an understanding, period. It's just not going to work. Okay. And you can shout out now, you can shout, you can run the floor, uh, you can do all of that, all of that. And nothing is going to impact you in terms of being able to evolve, transform, and ascend unless your mental state, your consciousness, your mental framework, and your mental frame of mind is balanced enough to be able to accommodate the knowledge and then to be able to apply it and execute it personally. Okay. I just want to say that. Uh, and Pastor Cotton has a couple of visitors watching, and he wants to thank you for tuning in. And I personally, from the bottom of my heart, as we say, thank you for tuning in. For he is the kind of person who's always thinking about the cost. Eating, drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. All right. I think is there a part of that text missing? 23 says in the King James Version, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he eating, drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. The summary of the text is we are what we think. And at the same time, there are people who are fellowshipping with you whose thoughts are really not for you. But this is a classic text that enables us to see that thinking determines being. Thinking determines reality. Thinking determines what happens in the world. And a part of the thinking construct, the psychological construct, of course, are core beliefs. They are the stars of our thinking. And these core beliefs show up in the thousands of thoughts that we have every day, as well as the thousands of images that are created on the silver screen of our minds throughout the day, as well as the emotions that are generated from these thoughts and these images. These are all major contributors to our reality, major contributors to how we move about in this construct, major contributors as to whether we fail or succeed, whether we live or die, whether we accomplish or not accomplish, whether we ascend or descend, whether we overcome or are defeated. It's all going to begin in your thoughts, in your imagination, in your interpretation or motivation by emotions, and of course, last but certainly not least, the things you declare and speak in this world and in this reality. What's happening is, and what I want you to understand is that we all live in what this philosopher calls reality tunnels. There's a quote from Prometheus Rising that says, every reality is a reality tunnel, a conditioned, learned way of perceiving, interpreting, and acting on reality. Change the tunnel and you change your reality. End quote. The word condition, a conditioned. We're all conditioned to think things. We're all conditioned to believe things. This is why people hear messages and it is filtered differently. This is why people hear messages and it is heard differently. This is why people hear messages and it is perceived differently. The same message will not necessarily produce the same understanding, not necessarily produce the same context, not necessarily produce the same results in whoever is watching or the same amount of individuals who are watching. It's because a reality tunnel is your private, personalized version of the universe. I'm going to say it again. A reality tunnel is your private, personalized version of the universe. I don't care what you say and what you think about God. That's a part of your reality tunnel. Everybody has a reality tunnel where they have a conceptual framework about God. They have a conceptual framework about Yeshua. They have a conceptual framework about themselves. They have a conceptual framework about others. They have a conceptual framework about people. It is conditioned. It is conditioning. It is mental conditioning. It is a reality tunnel. And we don't typically know we're in the tunnel until it is exposed to us by somebody who doesn't live in our tunnel. We can live our whole lives, and if we don't encounter people to shine a light into our tunnels, we'll think that our tunnel, our way of thinking, our belief system is the only way and the right way. As you see, this is stated in the article from, I think, last week. A reality tunnel is composed of four things: beliefs, that's what you assume is true. I have assumptions, you have assumptions. In those moments, those assumptions say to us, this is real. Until that assumption is changed, you will be operating on that assumption as if it is super reality, when in essence, it's only your reality. That's number one, beliefs. Number two, emotions, your habitual feelings. Everybody watching me has habitual feelings. One of the things I've been working on over the last several weeks in my life is changing habitual feelings. Habitual feelings. Every cell in our body, it's not just the brain, but it's the body, is recording emotions and feelings. And there is a default setting when we're triggered by certain thoughts and images, whether positive or negative, not just set up in the brain, but set up throughout the whole course of your body. That's why the reaction is so swift, whether we go down in terms of our emotions or go up. Your program, your cells are programmed to think that this is the template. This is the template that we operate from when a certain thought or a certain trigger happens within us. It's a reality tunnel. So we are habituate these feelings. I'm gonna say it again. We habituate these feelings and emotions. The body is now trained to think that this is the normal state of being for us. Then the next thing are memories. It's really our interpretations of the past. Memories are our interpretations of the past. Everybody is a walking collection of memories, and our brain decides what it believes to be reality based on memories. And we factor memories into our analysis. We factor memory into our learned experiences and produce, philosophical conclusions, or what we think are factual conclusions based on what's stored in our memory. That's a part of the reality tunnel. And your memories don't necessarily prove super reality, it proves the reality that you and I live in. Then, last but not least, there's what's called values. And values are what you think matters. We've got family values, we've got monetary values, we've got relationship values. There are all kinds of values or value systems that you and I are a part of that help make up what's called a reality tunnel. I want you to type this in the comment section because it's profound. No two people live in the same universe. Type that in the comment section. No two people live in the same universe. I want you to type that in the comment section. No two people live in the same universe. You say, well, what do you mean? There's grass, there's trees. We're driving down the same roads. We're driving down the same streets. It's not the same reality inside somebody else as it is for you. It's not the same uh, intellectual processing. It's not the same emotional processing. It's not the same subjective interpretation of what your senses are sending to your brain, the electrical impulses. It's not. It just isn't. Okay. So I want you to understand that right now, you and I are weaving a cocoon of meaning and experience. Every mind that is observing me right now is weaving its own cocoon of meaning and experience. And this is where we all have, at some point in time, erred. We mistake the tunnel for the world itself. We mistake our reality tunnel for the world itself. One of the greatest eye-opening trips, and I've been just out of the country just a few times, was my mission trip to Russia. I went on a trip to Russia several years ago, and I realized they lived in a different reality than I lived in. Even my definition of poverty here in the United States of America is different than the definition of poverty over there. The definitions of success over there are different than the definitions of success here. The definitions of culture, the definitions of God, the definitions of worship, definitions of scripture, definitions of certain value systems are different there. And that's when I started realizing, not knowing what it was called then, that my reality tunnel was my reality tunnel. And there are other people who have a reality tunnel they live in. But that doesn't mean that it is the world itself. The next thing we discussed were cognitive biases. These are invisible architects. So cognitive science reveals that the mind is riddled with shortcuts and distortions called cognitive biases. These biases, number one, filter what information gets through. I'm trying to remember that part of the brain, reticular activating system. I know that's one part of the brain that's responsible for this filtration system. It colors how we interpret that information, meaning that when it says colors, meaning that it adds an emphasis, or it adds a shade of emphasis, a shade of interpretation of how we interpret the information. So it's attaching a bias to it. And then it shapes the actions we take in response. It shapes the actions we take in response. So again, the way you and I respond is based on biases. I'm gonna say it again. The way you and I respond is based on biases. That's the bottom line. And my bias is not necessarily the world's reality. It's my reality until it's adjusted and corrected. So, some major biases include number one, confirmation bias. In confirmation bias, you seek out information that confirms what you already believe. All of this is are these are nuggets and principles of psychology. You seek out information that confirms what you already believe. We don't understand as powerful, dynamic spiritual beings how we are constantly creating the same roadmaps, the same terrain, the same geography, the same situations, because we believe that this is what exists in the world. We believe that this is who exists in the world. We believe in terms of the types of people, the types of systems, uh, the types in terms of good and bad, the polarity in terms of negative and positive. These are all things that exist within us as confirmation bias. And we create our own laws that when I see this, this is bad. When I see this is good. We generalize and stereotype based on confirmation bias. Again, the next nugget, and this is in the article, is negativity bias. Do you realize you remember negative events more vividly than positive ones? We'll say it again. You remember negative events more vividly than positive ones. When I was doing some research years ago as it relates to the human palate or the tongue, I was incredibly shocked when I ran across information that revealed there are more gustatory receptors or taste buds um, for um, what's the word I'm looking for, the precise word I'm looking for. Um, not it's not sour, but what's the word I'm looking for? There are more taste buds in your mouth for I guess I could use the term that interprets something as nasty. There's a word for that. It's not tart. You're trying to help me, Hillary. Somebody else has another word. Anyway, you know when you taste something and it's nasty, there's an official term for that. And he's absolutely right. It's because it's detecting for poison. It is detecting for poison. Okay. That's what the article said, the research said. So the negative taste, if I can frame it like that, there's more taste buds for that than sweet and for salty. And again, it's a mechanism in the body to help defend or help us to recognize when we may potentially be consuming poison. So that's why things we don't like, even from a taste standpoint, an eating standpoint, last longer than things we do like. Although, we retain in memory those great dishes, but it's like if something is nasty, I ain't never eating that again. This is why sometimes we have problems with taking medications because they're nasty. We gagging and have to force ourselves because it's a strong memory, a strong memory in the mind. And then last but not least, under major biases include availability heuristic, meaning you judge likelihood based on how easily examples come to mind, often skewed by media and personal fears. Wow. Media and personal fears. And I'm going to say this and I'm going to move on. We're blind to our own blindness. We have very little idea of how little we know. We are prone to overestimate how much we understand about the world. End quote from Daniel Kahneman from Thinking Fast and Slow. All right. The next thing I want to bring up as it relates to the reality tunnels is memories. And the title that I put here is The Fiction of the Past. A lot of times you and I believe that memory is actually a recording. We think it's a faithful snapshot of something that happened to us in our past. But the truth be told, according to psychologists, it's not. It is Elizabeth Loftus, excuse me, who's a psychologist, she demonstrated that memory is constructive, not reproductive. So every time you and I recall an event, we are rebuilding it. And as we're rebuilding it, sometimes we're altering details unconsciously to fit our current emotion and beliefs. This is what was determined in her groundbreaking studies. She showed how people could be led to remember events that never happened. I have seen this, and this is why you have to be careful in questions that you lead people with if you're trying to do some kind of interrogation or fact finding mission, because people will remember stuff that never happened. It will remember stuff that never happened. And I have noticed even in my own life, and I have, considered to have a pretty profound, wonderful memory. You have to be careful in your recall because your recall many times is not 100% unless you got a photographic memory. The more you and I recall something, the more there is the potential for a bias, an unconscious bias to be inserted when we are having the memory that will filter out certain things for us. It will filter out certain things and it will add certain things to us, to that memory. So, for example, as it's mentioned in the article, your memories, she determined that your memories are filtered reconstructions. Your present beliefs shape your past. Your past, in turn, shapes your perception of the present. So, watch this. The past is alive and moldable in the mind. I'm going to say it again. The past is alive and moldable in the mind. One thing I've been in doing, again, in my own self healing, on my own self journey, is disconnecting myself from the past and not allowing it to have be instrumental in having a negative impact on me in the present, because that don't even exist anymore, except I recall it chemically as a chemical in my brain. And understand, when we recall memories, family, most of the time when you recall memories, remember, emotions and feelings are a result of the chemical reaction or chemicals produced in our body. Once those chemicals are produced in our body to bring up the memory, it brings up the feelings and emotions that we can recall in that memory. And what we should understand is that these memories many times are misinterpreted or misapplied in the present. And as they are misinterpreted and misapplied in the present, they also have attached to them the feeling of the emotion as if it is reality, even when it's being misapplied, misaimed, okay, or misused. So we must learn how, as memories surface, to be able to not allow it to have the power that it once had to control our now, okay, which ultimately is going to control the next moment that we know as the future. The next thing, as it relates to reality tunnels, are belief systems. That's the blueprint of experience. Beliefs are the hidden architecture of the reality tunnel. I'm going to say it again. Beliefs are the hidden architecture of the reality tunnel. This is so powerful. This is the reason why I have to continue to persist in teaching like this. It's because what you put on God and what you put on other people is really what you believe. It's really what I believe. It's really what you believe. So, for example, I use in an article, if you believe I am unworthy, you will unconsciously filter out signs of love and acceptance. I'm going to say it again for the people in the balcony. If you believe I am unworthy, you will unconsciously filter out signs of love and acceptance. Let me tell you something, family. This has created a lot of heartache in individuals and a lot of heartache in families, family relationships, and a lot of heartache in couple relationships. Because if a person fundamentally believes that they are unworthy, no matter what is said or done to them to show them worthiness, at some point in time, they're going to filter out those actions of worthiness that a person is presenting to them, and they're only going to process what they believe is unworthiness. Hear what I'm saying today. This is how powerful this is. You can hear as many positive messages as you want to. You can hear as many good sermons as you want to. You can go to as many seminars as you want to. You can see as many counseling sessions as you want to. But if you, at the core of your being, feel unworthy, just like if at the core of your being you feel like a failure, I've lived with that on and off for years. I just saw something on social media that shocked me, but I shouldn't be surprised. It shocked me. Steph Curry, whom I believe is the greatest shooter who ever lived. I honestly believe he's the greatest shooter who ever lived. Said he struggles with imposter syndrome. How can the all-time leader of 3 pointers, who had an epic moment in the Olympics, I think he's a three-time champion in the NBA, struggle with imposter syndrome? As great as he is, there are times he's unconsciously and consciously struggling with his own worth. So listen, if these things live at the core of our being, then it has to be rewritten, because otherwise you will create a filter. And the only thing you will hear and see is what the filter has been set up to believe. Another illustration in the blog articles is, if you believe opportunities are everywhere, you will notice doors opening at every corner. I didn't always think this. I didn't always believe this. This is still a work in progress for me, because I'm in this spiritual revelatory space, and it is reality for me. No matter what shows up in my world, I do believe that opportunities are everywhere. But watch this. If you don't have your filter tuned to that, okay, if you have your filter tuned to other people affect my destiny, if you have your filter tuned to my gender, my race always blocks me and stops me, if you have your filter tuned to I'm not intelligent, not good enough, I don't have enough connections, if this is what you believe, then these are the things you're going to manifest. But what if you and I decided to believe that opportunities are everywhere? What if we decided to believe that the ability to thrive and prosper exists in abundance? What if we decided to change the filter? And the reason why you and I struggle with changing the filter is because we've been conditioned to think that things are reactive, or prosperity and success comes a certain way by doing certain things, and it looks a certain way, or you got to have certain things in order to be able to progress and prosper. These are core beliefs, family, that is consistently shaping our reality. But what if we decided that I'm unstoppable no matter what? What if we decided that all things work together for the good no matter what? What if we decided, watch this, that I'm going to overpower every negative emotion and every negative thought that's trying to dominate every remembrance of my cells, how I trained my body to think from the low state, from the low vibration, from the low frequency, from the low state of consciousness, to understanding and recognizing in partnership with God and with the talents, gifts, and abilities I have, last but not least, with the power and the faith that I possess. As I think in my heart, so am I. As he thinketh in his heart, so is he. That if I shift and change my thinking to see opportunities everywhere, and not use a safety net to say I can't think that because I try to think that and I fail.
So in the back of my mind, I'm going to have thoughts that it's probably not going to happen, but I'm going to try this anyway. What if we decided to go all out and believe that opportunities really are everywhere? Psychologist and hypnotist Milton Erickson once observed, patients are patients because they are out of rapport with their own unconscious. I'm going to quote that again. Patients are patients because they are out of rapport with their own unconscious, meaning that the unconscious part of us, some would call it the subconscious part of us, does not like us, has been programmed with adversity, has been programmed with inner strife, has been programmed with that we are less than, has been programmed with we can and will not accomplish, has been programmed with the negative stuff that people said about us that we held on to, that we recall periodically in the midst of our struggles. All right. So let me say this powerful statement to you. Your beliefs are not passive. They are creative forces broadcasting into the quantum field. They are creative forces broadcasting into the spiritual dimension. They are not passive. I want you to type in the comment section for me. Beliefs are not passive. Matter of fact, type it, personalize it. My beliefs are not passive. My beliefs are not passive. Wow. My beliefs are not passive. I want you to type that in the comment section. My beliefs are not passive. And so many times we think, oh, it was just a thought. No, it's not passive, though, just because it's a thought. You may not have acted on it physically, but that doesn't mean it's inert. That doesn't mean that it's harmless. That doesn't mean that it's powerless. You're taking this stuff too serious, Green. No, those thoughts can eventually turn into actions. Those thoughts can eventually uh, draw other kinds of thoughts or produce other kinds of thoughts after its kind. Everything produces after its kind. I want you to know that everything produces after its kind. It's one reason why I don't want to allow certain thoughts to just circulate and roll around in my mind, because it can multiply like a cell. It can reproduce like a cell and bring more offsprings of that stuff that I don't want circulating in my thought realm, in my thought life. All right. The next thing I mentioned, number 5, was the color of the lens, the color of the lens. And it's really entitled Emotions, the Color of the Lens. So watch this. If you're walking through a garden and you're in a state of grief, you're probably going to barely notice the flowers if you're in a state of grief walking through a garden. But if you're in a state of joy, the garden explodes with color and fragrance, because the state of grief is its own state of consciousness, which dulls our awareness but intensifies our focus only on the negative filter. So we can't see the robust red, yellow colors in that garden because we're operating in that state of grief. But in joy, we're operating in joy and even in peace. We are open to view and visualize and enjoy the whole landscape. So it's the same garden with a different internal state and a radically different experience. And I want to say this to you again, do not underestimate that your beliefs and your state of mind, again, is the thing that creates the reality for us. It creates the reality for us. It could be a great experience in terms of super reality, but a poor experience for me in the moment if my mindset is colored with a dark emotion. It is neuroscientist Antonio Damasio who showed that emotions are not mere byproducts, they are integral to decision making and perception. This was discovered by Descartes the book Era 1994. Yes, emotions factor into decisions that we make. It factors in, excuse me, to our perceptions in the moment. This is why I always encourage people: do not make major decisions when you're sad and depressed. Do not make major decisions when you're angry. And sometimes, yes, do not make major decisions when you're extremely happy, because you might overspend in the moment. You might overextend yourself in the moment. You might commit yourself in the moment to something that you regret later, because you're operating in an unbalanced state. Listen to this: change your emotional set point, and you change the quality of your perceived world. I'm going to say it again: change your emotional set point, and you change the quality of your perceived world. Now, it's not always easy, but it's why I try and stay in a balanced state. And lately, it's been difficult. But I want you to understand that we make better decisions, and we make more calculative responses, or have more calculative responses, when we're in a balanced state, because you can process the situation better, and the quality of your perceptions is better. All right. Number 6, culture and conditioning, the collective tunnel. So I say in the article that beyond your personal filters, you swim in the vast ocean of cultural conditioning. I want you to type cultural conditioning in the comment section. Type cultural conditioning in the comment section. Cultural conditioning in the comment section. I'm trying to get done here. Let me see. I'm almost out of time. Look like I'm a minute over. Type cultural conditioning. All right. So this is what society is saying to us since we were born. Cultural conditioning tells us what's possible. Cultural conditioning tells us what's valuable. Cultural conditioning tells us what's real. I'm going to say it again. So if you grew up in a certain neighborhood and the cultural conditioning was you got to be an athlete or drug dealer to profit or to live a good life, then that's showing a youngster, or that's being projected to a youngster as a cultural ideology that is going to condition him or her to think, I got to be one or two things to get out of this ghetto, or get out of this low income neighborhood, or one or two things in order to achieve something in life. If this is what we see in our culture, culture of the world, culture of our nation, culture of our city, culture of our neighborhood, culture of our family, from birth, this helps form our reality tunnel. What's valuable? Things that are of value to people. This is also determined among culture and conditioning. If you were raised in certain situations to think this is not important, then you won't think it's important. If you were raised in certain situations to think it is important, then you will think it's important. What is real? Some people are raised in situations and circumstances where they just have a difficult time vibing with what's happening, because they're taught to be withdrawn, or they're taught to be critical. They're taught to be uh, conspiratorial in their thoughts. So everything is challenged as if it's not real. Just like we still got foolish people out here talking about the pandemic never happened. There was not COVID-19. You just need to tell those over a million people who died in this country and millions who died worldwide. Visit them on the other side and ask them, was it real? Visit their families and ask them, was it real? Okay. So all of this, the way we dress, how we see God, how we solve our problems, how we see ourselves, our sense of style, our sense of again of identity, many times can be shaped in culture and condition. It's a part of the reality tunnel. So the collective reality tunnel of your culture frames even the questions you are allowed to ask. Lord have mercy. There's some things, yes, you are taught not to broach. You're taught to stay away from in certain cultures. People are taught, for example, in religious cultures, you don't question God. And as I grew of age and became mature, I started realizing, why would an omnipotent, all-knowing being have problems with questions? If it knows everything, that it understands exactly where its creation is, and that its creation is curious, that its creation is flawed, and that it holds limited solutions, at least within its conscious mind, and needs to access God or the divine to understand better. Why would an omnipotent being have problems with questions? Okay. So, thus, waking up is not only a personal act, it is a revolutionary act against collective hypnosis. That's a powerful statement, because there is a collective hypnosis, like there's a collective consciousness that exists in the world. There's this woke generation, and I'm not totally in agreement with this woke generation, but I do believe that there's an awakening that's taking place, and we are all having different levels of awakening that we need to experience, because there's a collective hypnosis that exists in the world today that is defining our moral base. It's redefining our values again, which is ultimately impacting what we perceive to be real. Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by what? The renewing of your mind. I want you to type this in the comment section. Mind renewal changes the reality tunnel. Type that in the comment section. Mind renewal changes the reality tunnel. Type that in the comment section. Mind renewal changes the reality tunnel. Mind renewal. And family, you're not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2 says that you might prove what is that good and acceptable and the perfect will of God. It's an everyday process. Mind renewal is an everyday process, family. I'm going to say it again. Mind renewal is an everyday process, but only mind renewal can change our reality tunnels. That means there's something in my mind. I've got to give way to new ideas, new knowledge, new revelation, new information. I got to allow it to circulate in my mind. I got to not be resistant to it. I got to embrace new truth and the possibility of new truth, what brings about a new experiences. There may be some fear associated with it based on not just my phobias, but my past negative experiences. But in order for me to change the reality tunnel, my mind is going to have to be renewed. It's going to have to be renewed again about my conceptual framework of God, my conceptual framework of myself, my conceptual framework of my identity, my conceptual framework of my power. It's got to be renewed to see differently, to think differently, to walk differently, to talk differently, to act differently, to behave differently. All right. So then we get to the part under soul mechanics in terms of how to expand your reality tunnel. Question your beliefs. There's nothing wrong with questioning your beliefs. I give the challenge in the Oregon, if you blog article, and if you never read it, go to Patreon and read blog number 3, article number 3. I encourage you to challenge yourself with at least one assumption you hold and ask yourself, is it true? Is it absolutely true? Or is it a lens I have accepted? As Byron Kate teaches, who would you be without that thought? That's powerful. Powerful question to ask ourselves. Next thing, court the unknown. I just basically kind of said it. Expose yourself to ideas, cultures, people, and experiences that stretch your current understanding. Read books you normally would avoid. That's a good thing to do. Listen to people you disagree with, not to argue, but to understand. And that's one thing I've been doing over the last 3 to 4 years. I've been talking to people who have totally different opinions than what I was raised to believe. I've been talking to all kinds of people and all kinds of stuff, and don't nobody get offended, but witches and atheists and other people who live totally different lifestyles and have totally different backgrounds. I want to understand their perspective better without approaching it through the lens of condemnation. I want to see and understand why you think the way you think. I want to understand your process a little bit, how you evolved to develop this theology or this ideology, this framework that you have. The next thing, reframe experiences. Reframe experiences. So when you're facing a challenge, we have to ask ourselves the question, how else could I see this? I honestly believe that every situation contains multiple meanings, and I get to choose the meaning that empowers me, not the one that disempowers me, not the one that disembowels me. I get to choose, family, the one that empowers me. The next thing is meditate. Meditation allows you to watch your thoughts without automatically believing them. Eckhart Tolle, a great modern teacher, spiritual teacher, says you are not your thoughts. You're the awareness behind them, end quote, in his book, The Power of Now. So it is through meditation you step back from the lens and begin to see the lens itself. And I'm almost done. I'm at point number 8. Let me ask you a question. Is there anybody besides me who's seen a difference in how your day goes when you started with meditation and prayer? Has anybody besides me seen a difference in how your day goes when you started with prayer, meditation and prayer? And then sometimes people read a scripture or whatever. Has anybody noticed a difference in how your day seems to go and how your day seems to flow when you started that way? Talk back to me. I want to see your responses right quick before I finish up tonight. I got one yes. Anybody else see a difference? Kind of like in how your day flows and how your day goes and how things develop and how you feel, how you think when you start the day with prayer and meditation. Anybody else? Anybody else? I got one yes. Anybody else? And all your answers are welcome here. I got another yes for my Chris. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Anybody else? Anybody else see a difference? I know I do personally. There's another yes. I do personally. And sometimes when I get up and go straight to work, I can tell. So we should try and be more intentional, family, about starting our day with prayer and meditation. Remember, prayer doesn't have to be an hour. It can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And some of us, we don't all pray the same type of way anymore anyway. Then secondly, your meditation don't have to be no 30 minutes. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 3 minutes, as long as it is solid, as long as it is focused. Okay. So here's an exercise, and it's in a blog article you can see for yourself. Have a morning inquiry. Before you start your day, write down one limiting belief you notice. Okay. And the example I use is I always struggle financially. Yes, I used to say that and I used to think that quite a bit. And I am reversing or have reversed that. Okay. Number 2, counter belief creation. Craft a new empowering belief. Example, abundance flows to me effortlessly and constantly. Active imagination. Spend 3 minutes vividly imagining life as if your new belief were already true. This is powerful. This right here is the stimulus of creation. It is creation itself. It is reality creation itself. Everything you and I see in this world came out of the imagination, including this planet that came out of the imagination of the creator. Then last but not least, evidence gathering. Throughout the day, consciously seek out evidence that supports your new belief. No matter how small, celebrate it. Watch this. Little by little, bit by bit, you're going to carve new tunnels into wider, more luminous worlds. Wow. Wow. So, yes, check out the confirmations throughout the day. They don't have to be big. For example, if you're praying and meditating for a financial increase, check this out. Let me tell you something that I used to overlook that I don't overlook anymore. Has this ever happened to you? Because it's happened to me. I'm praying and meditating uh, for abundance or financial increase. I've done this multiple times. And I go outside on the parking lot, or I'm walking down the street, or I'm at the store, whatever, and I look down, there's a penny, or I look down, there's a nickel. I'm going to ask you the question, do you honestly think that's a coincidence? Do you honestly think that's a coincidence? If you've been praying and meditating and believing and seeing yourself in abundance and thanking God for abundance and believing for the overflow, and you start seeing money on the ground, even if it's just pennies. It's happened to me several times. I used to overlook that until it was brought to my attention that it is a confirmation of what I prayed or what I meditated on. That currency, even though it was a penny, showed up in my pathway as proof that I have been heard, that something is developing, that something is happening. Are you hearing me? So there's nothing wrong with looking for throughout the day. And it's not, don't mean I'm searching for it, but when it pops up, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say, yes, I was just talking to God about this, or I was just praying about this, or I was just meditating, or I was just believing for this, or I was just uh, uh, in my private, time contemplating this. And I walk right out the house and there it is. It don't always have to be money just shows up in certain measure in order for it to be proof that it was answered. Absolutely, that's the word, synchronicity. Some folk also call it confirmation, but that is what we call synchronicity. So if that's ever happened to you, or something that's related to what you've been praying for, just whether it's in a conversation that just pops up, realize that's a confirmation. Be encouraged and see that you're on the right track, and recognize that you're transmitting at all times. Every thought is being transmitted. Every thought is being transmitted. Every thought is being pushed into the field, being pushed into the spiritual dimension, and is going to collapse if you're persistent into some form of physical counterpart. And be encouraged to know, my beloved family members, that you get to control what Proverbs 23:7 says. As he thinketh in his heart, so is he. You get to control what you think. You get to change what you think. You get to produce a new you based on what you think. And you and I get to change the kind of lives we live based on what we think. Now, talk back to me, and I'm going to release you today. Let me put up the giving donation opportunities for those who might want to donate. What did you think about tonight's lesson? Talk back to me. What did you think about tonight's lesson? Real quickly, glad to see you all on tonight. Had some fluctuating numbers on YouTube and Facebook as usual, but I'm glad for those who got on and glad for those who are able to stay. So talk back to me. What you thinking? What you thinking? Did this resonate with you? Did this resonate? Did this resonate with you? Real quickly, talk to me. Let's see. Thank you, Stephanie. She says, amen. Thanks for the word. My pleasure. Anybody else? We got another amen. Anybody else that's impact you in a positive way? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. For those who want to give, you can give at this time. Use the Cash App opportunities, $AG Green, $AG Green Enterprises. You can also use PayPal. Just use the email address if you want to give there as well, or just visit theaggreen.com, and all the payment processors are there. See, definitely putting it on replay. Yes, sir. Spoke to my spirit. Thank you so much. And again, this is why we have to persist to serve. We had to persist to serve, because I had to persist, as the old folk would say, press my way to be on with you today. But I'm glad I did, because I'm here to serve, and I'm here to empower, and I want to see you live your best life now. I don't want you waiting Talking about I'm waiting to get to heaven. No, you're supposed to be creating some of that here in this framework, in this construct, in this matrix, as I call it. That should be happening here. Life, abundant life, life, and that more abundantly. All right. Thank you so much for those who are going to give. And remember, you don't have to give tonight. If you don't have it tonight, just whatever you give, you give. And I thank some of you all. I checked the Cash App or go to my email, and some of you all have given, and I didn't even know you gave. Whatever you do is a support to what I'm doing here online and in other places in life. All right? I appreciate you. And for those who might be thinking about giving a larger gift and you want to contact me, please do that. We can set up a Zelle situation or whatever for you to be able to give and give as you desire to give. Right? I'm going to release you with the shalom blessing. Shalom, shalom, peace, wholeness, and prosperity. Nothing missing and nothing broken. It is so, and so it is. Love you all so dearly.